Is your friend?
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
A different level.
Different levels. Yes.
A matter of vibration, I suppose you could call it that, for want of a better word.
You're very
we
clear.
have to work on various levels. The problem, of course, is getting onto a level which means that we can at least temporarily manifest. But there are souls here who are in an entirely different condition of life, endeavouring to lower themselves, as it were, to make contact with your world of reality. You see, all our communication is a mental process, and some are able to enter into the old way of life temporarily, that is, in past memories and associations come flooding back temporarily at least. Of course, there are many things that they do not forget, obviously, but a lot of things which I suppose would be acceptable or understandable, they are happy to release themselves from. But you know, there are some souls here who are on an entirely different level of consciousness altogether, whom we very much like. Of course, the problem always has been, always will be, I suppose, and quite rightly in a way, and understandably, the vast majority of people are obviously concerned about their own affairs, particularly in regard to people they've known and loved, and still love, of course, in the hope that they may get some help or some comfort, some upliftment, some personal message, some evidence or conviction that might come to them of the reality of our world. But of course, you know, there are many souls here who are not necessarily connected or related, who have indeed progressed far beyond the confines of material things, who often feel perhaps, not rejected of course, but they feel perhaps it's a pity they're not given an opportunity to manifest, and they do not like to intrude, of course, upon the personal. And of course they realize only too well how important it is, like to that dear lady there, whose young boy is so anxious for her to be comforted and helped, and the very last thing we'd ever attempt to do would stand in the way of something of that nature, which means so much help and comfort to be given. But I think this in a way is possibly one of the problems of all that more or less transpires in what is referred to as the spiritualist movement. I do think it is rather sad that more opportunity is not given to the souls who really have something of a value to give far beyond the confines of material things. I'm not making any condemnation, I'm merely stating that it is rather a pity that more opportunity isn't given to souls who really have a message of enlightenment, a message appertaining to the world of the spirit, far removed from the material confines of many people who, though they themselves are sincere enough, are quite content to stay on one level. In the initial stages, of course, it's vitally important that evidence should be given, that comfort should be given to the so-called bereaved. I say so-called, that may sound a very odd thing to say, but you know, there is often in your world, and understandably so, many a person who is more concerned, in a way, unconsciously may well be, with themselves. I mean, when one grieves, often it is grief for oneself. I'm not suggesting they're not also grieving for the one that they have physically lost. It's a strange thing, but if people could only understand a little more of the truth of the spirit, they would realize that their loved one has entered into a world far removed from the material world in which they lived, and although their love still is strong and will remain so for the one that they love on earth, and will attempt at times to manifest or come back to them to comfort and help them. But you know, often people in your world, without realizing it, distress their loved ones by being so utterly, understandably of course, depressed. It makes them very sad when they see someone they have known and loved being very desolate, very unhappy, and often brooding, often for hours at a time, and finding it difficult to pick up the reins of material things. I suppose in a way there is a kind of uncalled for, unrealized selfishness in grief. It doesn't mean to say that I and others here are not fully aware, or that we don't understand, or that we don't sympathize, that we do. But it makes your loved ones so depressed and unhappy when they see you, as you oftentimes are, very upset, very concerned, and you're finding it difficult perhaps to pick up the reins of life and go on. And one of course has to go on in your world, whatever may have happened in your life to someone in particular that you were so attached to. But if only you could rejoice, I know I'm asking too much, but if only you could rejoice in their release from physical pain and all the material things that cause so much anguish, so much unhappiness. Of course, when a person is at ripe old age and you anticipate their leaving your world, obviously, though you may well miss them, in a way you say, oh, that's a happy release, and you don't grieve to the same extent as when it is a young, active, vital soul. And therefore, of course, you sometimes get very unhappy about it, as if, well, why should such and such a young person be taken on the very threshold of life with everything before them? And of course this is something which we do understand, and we understand to the extent that we do sympathize with you. But you must never feel that because the person didn't reach a fuller life with a longer existence on your side, with more experience, that they may have missed something which could have been, from your point of view, more satisfactory. You're not to know. Sometimes it's a good thing. I know this may sound a strange thing to say, and especially according to the condition of that person's passing, that may cause you some regrets. But how do you know? Perhaps it may well be that that young soul has gathered more without your being aware of it within himself than many a person who lives to a ripe old age. You cannot judge a person's realization of inner self while still living in the material world. You cannot understand how it could well be. There is a reason and a purpose sometimes, even in the, I was going to say, the manner of a person's death. That's not quite what I mean. I mean the tragedies that happen in your world constantly, every second of every day, all over your world. People are leaving it without any warning, very suddenly, very unexpectedly, and there is a kind of shock temporarily, but it passes, as indeed all things pass. But then again, time by its very self is something of an illusion. You assume time to be something of great importance. I suppose in the material sense it is. You live to some extent by the time of your world. Indeed, I suppose some people say time is essential to us when on earth, but it isn't what it seems. You could be active in some way or another, and the time has disappeared very quickly. Another time you'll be sitting around being bored stiff and depressed about something or the other, and the time will hang on your hands. And you know, time is the biggest illusion. you can't even judge, or shouldn't even attempt to judge, a person who leaves your world by the time that they may have spent in your world. You know, I don't wish to confuse you, but I suppose in a strange kind of way, perhaps I am. It's not intended as such. The young man that's here, his time on earth was, I suppose, really in a sense short, and yet it was not as it seems. That young man is vital, very much alive, very much has taken upon himself many aspects of his new life, and he has achieved something which in some cases perhaps would have taken a person in your world a much longer period of time to assimilate when they come here. Time is the biggest illusion. We are not subject to time as you are. When we come down to you, we know that you're going to meet together, and we know that you are meeting at a certain point in time, but we're not aware in a sense of your time, but we are aware from your thought forces. You see, if someone on this side is deeply attached to a person on your side, there is this mental ability to tune in when you say to yourself, well, we're going to have a séance at a certain time, and if it's possible for my darling to come, I hope he will. That darling of yours has been around you probably for quite a while as you turn time, and is aware of what you are planning or anticipating or hoping to do, and he will be with you, or she will be with you. They will come with you when you go to the appointed appointment, and they will, if possible, try to manifest. They don't necessarily always manifest to their own satisfaction any more than they may well be to yours. After all, we are very aware and conscious of what you're thinking, and that's why quite often I think some people, not all, who are anxious to prove identity will make reference to certain things which at the time do not seem to have any application whatsoever to the person or yourself or the situations which you accord to past memories. But the point is, a lot of the best communication is done by individuals who desperately try to give you something which maybe you have to go to a great deal of trouble to prove it to be correct, and then you can say, well, it didn't come out of my mind, it wasn't something that was taken from me, myself, my conscious mind, according to the individuals concerned. You know, I suppose that's another thing, assessing what is evidence of survival after so-called death. It's not always that which is the obvious. Often it is that of which you least expect or even have any knowledge about. You know, if I could explain certain things which would clarify, I suppose, more for you in your world, how we make attempts to link up with you. It's not necessarily always with a medium. In fact, I would even go as far as to say invaluable though mediums are, and we're extremely grateful to them, and indeed in some respects perhaps for the majority of people we would not be able to achieve very much without them. But you must not delude yourselves into assuming that you have to always have contact with a medium, because most people, if not all people, have the power within. You have within yourself a sensitivity to the things of the spirit, because you are spirits while yet encased in material flesh. And as you have physical, material gifts or attributes, so you have within yourself the reality of self, and that part of you which can never be destroyed, because it is the eternal spirit that really is the reality of you, that animates everything about you. And if you were to go quietly, sometimes in the peace and the quietude of your home, and send out your thoughts to us, open up your consciousness to us, relax yourselves away from the material, cut out, if you possibly can, all the influences around and about you, and as it were, tune in. I think after a period of time you would experience many things which are far beyond the material, and indeed, if I may be allowed to say so, sometimes much more of a spiritual nature than anything that you might get from an instrument or medium outside yourself, because you are tuning in mentally and spiritually from within your innermost self to the outside world of the spirit, and you are the one who is perhaps most akin, and naturally so, if it's your son or your daughter or husband or your wife, because they are anxious to link up with you, to tune in with you, to be part of you, to express things to you, to give to you that which you are seeking. And it's the inner peace, it's the inner awareness, the inner consciousness, it's the inner realization of the things of the spirit, which are the important things. That's why I do say that everyone, no matter who that person is, has within themselves the power to open up themselves to the things of the spirit. I know it's a wonderful thing for you to sit, as you term it, with a well-known medium, or perhaps some medium who is not so well-known. But the point is, that medium, because you know that they know little, if anything, whatsoever about you and your affairs, and are able to bring you certain facts and information which they could not normally know about, that gives you that added conviction of that we appreciate and understand. But don't you realize that behind everything that we do is the fact that we want you to be the instrument. We want you to open up your inner awareness and your consciousness of the things of the spirit, not necessarily to get it second hand. Now this may sound like an indictment against mediums, which it is not. We value the mediums like the one that we use now. We appreciate the work that has been done over many, many years, and the help and the upliftment and the comfort that has been given. But what we are really concerned with, beyond that, is your evolution, your spiritual awakening, your spiritual development and achievement from within yourself. It's not so important to us for you to receive this and that message all the time. What is important is that you are on the path to enlightenment from within yourself, tuning in harmony and in love with the souls from this side who come to you, particularly indeed in regard to individuals who are thinking, not only thinking but praying from within themselves, as you are, my dear, in regard to your son. Your son is nearer to you than anybody else, and he is more in tune with you because he is your son. You gave him life, physical life, but also within that there is the spirit and the power and the love of the spirit. You have that within you as he has within him. He is no longer encumbered by the material and the physical. You are to some extent still held back, obviously, because you are still within the material world, facing up to all manner of situations and problems to do with family and other people concerned and so on. And it's not the easiest thing for you, perhaps, to get away quietly on your own for 20 minutes of your time and tune in with that boy, knowing that he will enter into your spirit, as it were, almost, that you will be as one. You will receive all the spiritual realization and the upliftment and the comfort and the joy and the surety and the certainty that death is not the end. Indeed, you are closer now, as indeed are many other souls in your world, closer now than they ever dreamt possible to that person, even when that person was with you on the material side of life. It is the spiritual union and the spiritual realization that is important. Of course, you sometimes get despondent and distressed, and you think of the loved one materially, not spiritually. This is the irony, if I may so say, with so many people in your world. Unconsciously, they are being selfish. This may sound a terrible thing to say, but there is truth in what I say. When you are grieving for yourself. Do you realize that the person that you've known and loved is often around and about you, anxious for you to be aware of them, anxious for you to know of their love, anxious for them to know that mentally and spiritually you can be attuned together in such a way that you are overjoyed in their companionship and their affection and their love? Of course, you must sometimes go to an instrument or a medium as searching in the first instance for the proof of life to come. And we respect that, and we work as hard as we possibly can to bring you the happy reunion temporarily with that loved one. But don't you realize that that loved one is nearer to you than ever the person was when in the physical? They were obstructed to some extent by the material aspect of things around and about them and of the life which they have led, as indeed are you. But try to see what we are aiming at. That is, that you shall uplift yourselves far, far beyond the confines of material things. Your memories are precious, but they are in a sense physical memories. You may say there's a mental aspect too, and on occasions perhaps a spiritual one in the past life that you enjoyed together. That is true, and it is a wonderful thing in itself. But you are thinking always, I'm afraid the majority of people are, on the material level. They are thinking of all the material things rather than the mental and the spiritual things. If you want to help your loved ones, try to think of them as they obviously are, away from the material stress and strain, away from all the things that harass and cause concern and cause you sometimes to be so desperately miserable. They have gone a step further on life's progression, and they are never far from you. And when the time comes for you to leave that physical body and enter fully into the realm and state of the spirit, they will be there to take you by the hand. There is no sadness, or at least there should be no sadness, and yet I know there must be physical sadness, and in a sense perhaps you will say a mental sadness, but let there be spiritual rejoicing in the knowledge that they have stepped out a little further afield. They have seen some of the glory and the beauty and the majesty of the things of the Spirit, and are anxious for you to know of these things, and to be of these things, and to share of these things. Because, my dear friends, you are spiritual beings, as you are now. You are encumbered, you are held back, you are sometimes thwarted by material condition, thought, action, and yet in the privacy of your own room, there are those moments when you come very close. By all means sit with the mediums if you feel it's necessary, and it is needed and necessary in the initial stages of your inquiry. But know this, that your loved son is nearer to you, though he may appreciate the medium that acts, as it were, on his behalf. It is you and him. Whoever the persons concerned are, whatever the union, whether it be husband and wife or two friends who love each other very deeply and dearly, the physical aspect of things and the memories of past times, glorious and happy though they may be, try to realize that you have a spiritual union. You are part of each other. You share the same spirit, though you have your initial aspect of things in the beginning in your search for truth. Realize that in your very self lies the answer to all these things. You have a great and glorious realization given to you that is not given to many. There are untold numbers of peoples in your world who accept and believe without any evidence whatsoever to sustain their belief. And they may well be very kind, very warm, very sincere people in all the different religions and orthodoxies, which you know are so many. But you have been given something very precious, very wonderful, very true. What is indeed the foundation in most respects to all religions, the realization of the power of the Spirit within. Do those things that are of the Spirit. Become completely so in conjunction with those whom you've known and loved, who still know and love you, and have never gone that far from you. Though there is no distance or time in our world, or many worlds indeed as it is, it's not just one world. You know, often we hear people saying about the spirit world, it's not just one plane of existence, it's untold thousands probably of planes of existence according to one's evolution. You assimilate all you can on a certain plane of existence over here, and you, as it were, take upon yourself many aspects, many conditions, many ideas, many thoughts. You grow and you extend your vision, and then as you do that, you enter into a newer existence, or a newer life, or a newer extension of thought, far beyond anything you could have ever hoped for or known. There is no death, only life, and that life is a spirit which you have within you. Open up that spirit. Let that spirit find its own true level while yet upon earth, so that when you come here and you step out of that physical body, there will be no doubts, no fears, no qualms, only peace and tranquility and love and harmony with those who have helped you from this side, who come to you and taken you by the hand, trying desperately to lift you out of the mire, out of the rut of material and physical things. Do not be held back by material things. I know that you have to pay the price materially in many ways, and there are times when you get despondent and feel that everything in the world is against you, and perhaps you feel you're a loner and you have no way of getting out of whatever the circumstance or condition of your life may be. But you have a free spirit within you. You have a spirit within you, such strength, such power, such mighty condition of itself could overcome so much more than you ever think is possible. Your boy, madam, and all who are thinking of their loved ones over here, they're all here, and they're all around you. They may not perhaps always be able to speak to you, but that's not perhaps quite what you want, just only to speak. There are times when you say, if only you could see for a fleeting second of time that loved face and feel the touch and that embrace. But I can tell you, my friends, they are nearer to you now than ever once they were on earth. You do not see them. You do not touch them. You do not feel them around sometimes, perhaps, and yet they are with you inside, strange as it may seem. You see, we are not as you are in the material sense. To what is solid to you is not solid to us. There is no solidity in your world, only that which seems so to you, because you are all vibrating in harmony with us. You may not be aware of that. You may not even think it is a possibility. You may think that you are, as you see yourself day by day, as you see yourself in the mirror, as you open a door to walk through. Everything to you is a reality, and yet it isn't what it seems. The reality is of the spirit. That is the solidity. That is the part of you which is eternal and divine. Nothing can destroy. Be of good faith, be of good heart, and withdraw from the world temporarily, if you can, when you can. Tune in, open up your consciousness. We are there, and you will take upon yourself that which we give you. You know, it was not my intention. Indeed, it was certainly not my intention to come and take up a lot of your valuable time. I know that sometimes you go away and you say, oh well, I would have liked to have got a message from this or that particular person, and perhaps if that soul hadn't stayed so long, I might have received that message from that loved one. This is human, we understand that, but you know why we are held back? I can tell you why we're held back. Is because we ourselves sometimes feel we have no right to intrude, and yet what we have to give you is so important, so vital, especially to those of you who are deeply involved in spiritual things and are endeavoring to serve many people in your world who are searching and seeking. And from the churches and the platforms, the message of the Spirit goes forth. But we want a voice in this. This is to us something vital and very important. We know the audience wants a message, and of course the message must come, but it should be also, if I may so say, on a level, at times at least, whereby we are enabled to voice what it is we have to give you, that we might open up your awareness and consciousness to what we are really endeavoring to do, which is in a way beyond the individual aspect of things, because it is to the glory of all humanity, of all life, of all peoples, of all nations. We come to break down the barriers that separate men. We try to bring to you the reality of the things of the Spirit, which are far removed from those things of which you are constantly being caught up with. You have a work to do, but it's not just only to comfort the mourn and to heal the sick and the suffering. It is to give out with a clarion call the things that truly are of a higher order, the things that are vital and eternal, the things that will take you out of the depths into the heights. This is what we're endeavoring to do. Give us the channel, give us the opportunity. When it presents itself, we will take it. Not that we would ever deprive you 1 second of your time to link up with someone near and dear. For what we say, or what I say, they will also say. It may not necessarily always be what you want to hear. The human element is such that you want the personal message. In the beginning, be happy about it, be satisfied with it. Know that it is true that life continues, but do not stay on the one level. Give us the chance to use you, to work with you. Indeed, to do the things that we know we have to do, would wish to do, that you might rise above the confines of material things. Do not hold your loved ones that close in the material sense, but hold them close to you in the spiritual sense. That is our message.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you.
That was.
I think Norman Burke is pleasant.
It was marvelous.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Either he or Dr. Marshall. I thought it was Marshall as well. It could have been.
It's just the tone of his voice and certain words that he uses that are so characteristic. Really, really good job.
Cheer up, Bob.
Oh, me up. I'm just
thinking of what he was saying, and also thinking of my uncle.